For as long as I've been into watches, Nomos has had a unique appeal to me. It's a relatively small brand making high-quality watches in Germany with serious watchmaking, cool designs, and mostly priced under $5,000. There's just nothing quite like Nomos. It's been fun to watch Nomos evolve over the last few years, from minimalistic Bauhaus designs to more elaborate, more fun, and even more sporty aesthetics. I like that they're experimenting and expanding. As long as the quality and thoughtfulness persists, I'm happy with what Nomos is doing. So, is it persisting? Well, let's take a look at the new Club Sport Neomatik 42. This watch was just announced at the end of October 2021. There are two things here that we haven't seen before. One, a blue dial on the Club Sport. It was previously only available with a black dial. And two, this bracelet. This bracelet was, to me, a big surprise, and we're going to talk about it. Like the 2019 black dial reference, this blue dial reference is 42mm across, just 10mm thick, and about 52mm long. The lug spacing is 20mm, the watch weighs about 136 grams, and it has a water resistance of 300 meters. Nomos writes 1,000 feet on the dial, which is actually 304.8 meters, so take that, Rolex Submariner, with your embarrassing 300 meters. Inside the Club Sport Neomatik is the automatic, in-house caliber DUW 6101 movement. The price of the watch on this bracelet is $3,960, and is $3,740 on a nylon strap. This Club Sport is Nomos' most capable sports watch. It's not technically a dive watch, it doesn't have a rotating bezel for timing, it's highly polished, and shoot, it doesn't even have a central seconds hand. But it can go deep, it does have lume, and it's legible and large. The size of this watch is interesting. 42mm across isn't huge, and 10mm thick is righteous, but it's the length that many people, including me, have an issue with. 52mm is long. This absolutely works on my 18cm wrist, no problem. The lugs curve down and are slim, but my 7-inch wrist is larger than the global average. And while a lot of people might want to wear this watch, I wouldn't recommend it for wrists smaller than 6.5 inches. I mean, obviously, wear whatever makes you happy, but also you should wear what makes me happy too. And this watch on a 6-inch wrist, that would bum me out, man. And the Club Sport is not just large in dimensions, it looks large too. Maybe larger than it actually is. Check this out. These are two very different watches stylistically, but the Nomos and the Breitling Super Ocean are both 42mm across, and we'll say about 50mm long. The difference in dial size creates an optical illusion. To my eyes, the Nomos looks much bigger, but it ain't. In both volume and mass, the Nomos is noticeably smaller once you have them in the hand or on the wrist. And by the way, these watches are about the same price, have blue dials, bracelets, and are dive capable. So similar on paper, but I mean, look, so different on sight. And that's the Nomos way. They've got their own look, and I love that. The even numerals, the small seconds, the modern dial typography, it's all very different and very Nomos. Even the date window is another example of the brand doing its own thing. Yes, you giant man babies, you hate date windows, we know. But this one is interesting to me. It's large and it's all the way to the far right of the dial. The size I get, it makes the date highly visible. The extreme placement I don't get. It seems like the minute track should still be there. Not a fan of the far right, so to speak. And the date doesn't just look different, it functions a little differently, in two ways. First, the date can be adjusted forward and backward. Very useful. And second, the movement prevents the date from being changed during the danger zone, which is a time towards midnight when changing a date on a mechanical watch can damage it. The DUW 6101 has a safety clutch which prevents this. The DUW 6101 is yet another fully in-house Nomos movement. The watchmaker reached a milestone in 2015 when it announced its first in-house escapement system, called the Swing System. Since then, every movement with the DUW label is a Nomos manufacturer caliber. Winding and setting the watch feels smooth and simple. And to help you remember to screw the crown back in, Nomos added a red collar to the crown stem. If an otherwise water-resistant watch is submerged with the crown out, water can get right into the movement. So if you see red, screw it. Okay, now this bracelet. I call this an Oyster-style bracelet. That's a term Rolex has long used for this design, and the Nomos bracelet does look a lot like the one on my GMT Master. I don't think that's a coincidence. On the one hand, I'm a little disappointed that Nomos might be taking design cues from Rolex. On the other hand, it looks great. I dig it. The bracelet tapers from 20mm to 18mm. It has polished center links and a fully polished clasp, which is going to get massacred by daily use. Pray for this polished clasp. The end links have quick-release spring bars, and so does the spring bar for the 3 micro-adjustment spots. So no tools are needed for removing the bracelet or making small adjustments. The bracelet links use pinning collars instead of screws. That's a disappointment, but at least Nomos provides the tools needed to add or remove links. The bracelet feels light but sturdy and comfortable. No sharp edges, no hair pulling. I think Nomos could do a little better machining this bracelet though. The end links have a little play in them against the case. Nomos has only recently jumped into the bracelet game, but I expect tighter tolerances from a brand that does everything else so perfectly. I never would have thought to add an Oyster-style bracelet to a Nomos watch, but I'm really pleased with how it looks. I've heard some people compare this to the Rolex Datejust 41, the Datejust killer. No, that's not what this is, but it is a really good affordable alternative. But if you ask me if I'd rather have this Nomos or an Omega Aquaterra, I'd have to get back to you on that. If you're able to remove brand prestige from the equation, that's an interesting decision to make. And do you hear that? That's the sound of 15,000 people unsubscribing from this YouTube channel. So, is the Nomos Club Sport Neomatik 42 good? Absolutely. Is it good on a bracelet? Mostly. Is this package worth $3,900? For sure. I'd love to see this combo in a slightly smaller size. I'd like to see Nomos get the end links a little tighter. And I can't stop thinking about that helpless polished clasp, poor thing. But overall, I like what Nomos is doing and trying to do with the Club Sport. It's a dive watch, it's a dress watch. It's modern, it's classical. It has a beautiful movement visible through the case back. It's on a sports bracelet. It's all different.